I'm going to Manhattan's Chinatown and visiting an old standby on the Bowery. I'm visiting Hong Wong, and it's been here for decades, serving Cantonese food to locals. Hi, this is Arthur from the Minute Review Show. If you have a minute, I have an opinion. We're in an area north of Canal Street with plenty of restaurant options. The restaurant is close to the B and D subway lines. I walk into the restaurant on a weekday evening. I see a large dining room, a bit more fancy than your normal neighborhood restaurant. In this video, I'm about to spend an evening trying some of Hong Wong's dishes, breaking things down, and choosing my star of the show. You don't want to miss this. Hi, this is Arthur from the Minute Review Show, and today I'm at the Bowery, north of Canal Street in Manhattan's Chinatown. And today I'm at a restaurant called Hong Wong. And this particular restaurant I've been to maybe 20 years ago. It was probably under a different name. I believe I came here with my father once. But this type of restaurant is one of the Wong type restaurants with lots of roast meats, roast pig, basically the entire complement. Over here you can get a plate of those meats for anywhere between $9 to $12. I'm going to show the menu after the segment. What I like about this place is that it's a little more fancy than your regular Wong restaurant, because this particular restaurant has tables with a tablecloth. As you can see, the chairs are covered, so it's a little more fancy. It has a little more of an extensive menu. I'm going to go ahead and show you what that menu is. Okay, here's the Hong Wong seafood restaurant menu. It's pretty nice. It's very neat and clean. First page you have the appetizers, and then you have a complement of congee. It's pretty cheap. It's about $7 a bowl. You have lo mein, Hong Kong style lo mein. Then you have the noodle soups, the wonton noodle soups. Next you have the noodle section, which includes ho fun, mai fun, lo mein, and pan fried noodles. The whole complement. Then we have the roast pork and all the barbecued meats. And then you have the barbecue rice dishes. And those are pretty cheap. They go between $8 to $12. Next, we have the fried rice section, which is a little more expensive. It's between $17 and $22. Then we have the casseroles, which are the clay pots with the stir-fried items. Then you have steamed dishes. Now, this particular item has interesting old type of Cantonese food, such as fish heads with black bean sauce. Then you have soups. And then you have the chicken dishes. These are pretty cheap, between $16 to $18. Then you have the pork dishes. And from what I see over here, there's an interesting dish, the steamed minced pork and salty fish. That's a homemade type of dish that's very common amongst old school Cantonese restaurants. Then you have the beef dishes. And getting to the end of the menu, we have your vegetable dishes, your tofu dishes, your egg foo young dishes, which is pretty old school. Then you have some chef specials. And then finally, you have the seafood and house specials. Now, these tend to be more expensive. They go all the way up to $40, as you can see. My meal came with a pot of complimentary tea. I just observed while I've been sitting here that all the wait staff and also all the bussers and all the people who work here are Chinese. They speak Chinese. So if you happen to speak Chinese, you can come here and order in Chinese. Just a little secret for you. Before I start this meal, I wanted to give you a quick language lesson. I just mentioned that a lot of people here speak Taiwanese. So before you eat, you could say "Hiap fan." That means let's eat. And that's Taiwanese for let's eat. For Cantonese, it's "Sek fan." So yeah, it's a little different, but I thought that I should mention that because we're in a place where I'm surrounded by Taiwanese speakers. I ordered the roast pork Now this is called the honey roast pork. What's interesting about this is that it comes with some soy sauce, and actually there's quite a bit of soy sauce pulled at the bottom of the dish. I asked for the fattier cuts of the roast pork, and this is what I have. This particular piece has been cut into pretty thin slices. That's about a 1/4 inch. And yeah, they appear to be pretty juicy. Now, I think what I will do is that I'm going to feel this in my hand and feel how juicy that is. Okay, that one's a little firm. This one's nice and bouncy. Okay, but the real test will be the taste. I almost forgot to mention that this plate of roast pork is about 6.5 to 7 inches wide, so it's not a huge plate, but it seems like they've piled the plate pretty high, maybe too deep in roast pork. This is $12, so it's a little hot on the pricey side, but I'm hoping that this is really good. Okay, the first dish I'm going to try is the roast pork, and the roast pork looks like this. It's actually a little darker, and yeah, it's not a bright red, so it's not a candy red color. So let's give this a try, see how it is. That's interesting. I asked for a fattier cut. Actually, it tastes a little dry, a little tough. Maybe I just picked the wrong piece, but the overall flavor is that I do taste the sweetness, and it's not overly salty. It's a little more sweet than salty. Let's try another piece. Now this one has a little more fat. Let's try this. Okay, that one is a lot better. The quality of these meats could be affected by the fact that they've been hanging on the window for a little while, but yeah, it seems like a mixed bag. It's some pieces of that roast pork seem tender, and then some seem kind of tough. So I don't know. It's sort of like a mixed bag. You know, let's give this another try. Let me dig a little deeper and try another piece. Okay. Now this one I dug all the way from the bottom of that plate. Oh, I forgot to mention that the soy sauce is the sweet soy sauce, so that adds a little bit to the sweetness. Okay. Now the piece that I got from the bottom is more tender. I think that's probably because they took it from another slab of meat. So this isn't bad. This would taste great on a bed of rice. So yeah, this is definitely passable. And a plate of roast pork rice, I would imagine it wouldn't be more than 10 or 11 bucks here. So yeah, definitely passable. I ordered the sweet and sour pork, and it comes in a pretty big portion. This is about an 8-inch plate, and it is piping hot straight out of the fryer. And here we have our standard items, such as the onions, the tomatoes, the bell peppers, and the pineapple. So let's look at this. It's coated nicely with the sauce. And yeah, if we take a look here, let's break into one of these pieces. Okay, it appears that they're pretty standard in terms of the types of pork that they use. It's probably pork butt, and when I give this a taste, I will let you know exactly what this is. There doesn't appear to be, oh well, actually, yeah, there appears to be plenty of sauce, so this is very well coated. Okay, the next item I'm going to try is the sweet and sour pork. Now, this is the sweet and sour pork right here. It took a couple of pieces, and here's what it looks like. So let's give this a try. I'm hoping that it's nice and tender. Okay. The first thing that hits me about this sweet and sour pork is that I taste a crunch. So this is just piping hot, came right out of the kitchen. When I bite into it, there's a crunch sound. Let's do that. Let's do that again. Whatever breading they're using is extra crispy. Who knows, it could be potato starch that they're using instead of cornstarch. But it's very nice. And nothing that I noticed is that it's not a gummy flavor. You know, I meant a gummy texture, because sometimes when you have sweet and sour pork and it's been sitting there for a while, the sauce tends to make it very gummy. It's not gummy. It's crunchy. Yeah, it's just like a saucy texture. The other thing that I noticed is that the sauce is perfectly balanced. Not too sweet, not too sour. Just right. I can't really seem to get over the fact that this particular sweet and sour pork is very crispy. It's actually retained its crispiness despite the sauce that's coating it. It's already been 5 minutes and it's still crunchy. Very interesting. Another thing that I noticed about the sweet and sour pork is that, yeah, I think this is definitely the pork butt. It's you know, a juicy cut of pork. Yeah, there's ample softness to it. It's not like a loin where it's a bit dry. I think this is pork butt. It's plenty moist. As I was waiting for my food, I discovered that there's a dumb waiter. I ordered the salted fish and chicken with tofu casserole. Now, the casserole here is interesting. It comes in a metal casserole. Usually it's a clay pot casserole. And let's take a look at what we have here. We have a whole bunch of tofu, as you can see here. We have peas, we have green onions, and we're supposed to have some salted fish and chicken in here. I can see the salted fish here. It seems to be in small little chunks, like half-inch chunks. And as I scoop around, I don't see much of the salted fish. Usually it's in tiny pieces, but I'm not sure if I see any, but hopefully it's there. So we're going to give this a try very soon. Okay, the next dish I'm going to try is the salted fish, chicken, and tofu casserole. This is very heavy. There's a lot of it in here. The majority of what I see here is the tofu. We're going to give this a try, and I'll tell you what I taste. Okay, I definitely taste some salted fish. It's a very mild taste. The interesting thing is that I don't see any big chunks of salted fish in here for some reason. Sometimes they do have it, sometimes they don't, but over here they don't. It's just like the essence of salted fish. Next, we're going to try some of the chicken. Now, I believe I have a small piece of chicken here. Let's try this. Okay. The chicken is cut into tiny little bites, maybe a 1/4 inch. Some are bigger, some are smaller. This is a smaller, bigger piece. It's about 1/2 inch. Yeah, it's been treated nice and soft. It's dark meat. The other thing that I want to show you is the broth. Look how thin the broth is. So this broth would go well with white rice. Now, the broth isn't overly thick, which I appreciate. In fact, the broth almost tastes like a soup. It's not bad. Some other items that I find in here are shallots. I didn't mention that before, but they're in there. And there's green onions. Very nice. So yeah. So I would say that the salted fish is really just the essence of salted fish. You won't get pieces of actual salted fish in here. So I'm not sure how they do it, but the flavor's there, but you can't see it. So this is pretty interesting. I like the fact that this dish is a big portion. It's not overly salty. The salt level is at the perfect level. This is something that I would order again. It's nice, light, and not heavy. This dish is called the Taian stir-fried mai fan, or rice noodle. Now, this particular rice noodle is stir-fried with a whole host of ingredients. First, you see the egg. Then you have some dried squid. You have some mushroom. You have some carrots. You have some green onions. And also, you have, I'm not sure what this piece is. Oh yes, this is some shrimp, small shrimp, not the dried shrimp, but the regular shrimp. And yeah, this particular dish is giving off a very savory smell. It's very strong because of these dried ingredients. So another observation I have is that this plate is nice and big. Looks like an 8-inch in diameter dish. So there's plenty of noodles. Okay, the next dish I'm going to try is the Tai Pong stir-fried noodle. This is what it looks like. There's a lot of dried ingredients in here, and because of that, there's a very strong umami, actually a big savory smell that comes right off of this dish. I smell it. It's very strong. Oh, I also misstated that these are spring onions. They're actually green chives. There's a lot of aroma in this dish, so let's give this a try. Okay. The noodles are nice and crispy. That's the way it should be. The moisture level is low, which is the way that it should be. You don't want wet rice noodles. You want it nice and dry. And this is what it's like. Very nice. Let's try some of the seafood in this dish. Here's the shrimp. Tiny little bits of shrimp. Okay. Totally fresh. Very fresh shrimp. Not overly salty. Here's the dried squid. Yes. Has a little more salt in that dried squid, but super high amount of umami. Very nice. I like that. Very nice. Here's another element that I forgot to show you, that these are the preserved vegetables that they added to this dish. Let's give this a try. I'm not sure what vegetable this is, but this is more sweet than salty. Sweet preserved vegetables, not bad. And finally, we have some mushroom. That shiitake mushroom that I just ate tastes like fresh shiitake mushrooms instead of the dried and reconstituted shiitake mushroom. So it's actually really good. I have to say, in conclusion, this particular dish is basically an umami bomb. It just has so much of that preserved stuff in there that it just leaps off the plate. It's really good, and it's done just right. Okay, and now it's time for your favorite part of the show. Ta-da! The star of the show. And today, the star of the show is the Tai Pong stir-fried noodle. And why did I choose that? Because that noodle had so much umami in it. In fact, it was the only dish out of the 4 that I ordered which literally wafted up to my nose and hit me in my face. It just said, "I'm here, eat me." That particular dish had everything. It had the nice crunch of the noodles, the dry crunch of the noodles. It also had all these little umami pieces of food in there, like the squid, like the preserved vegetables, and all these little bits that all together made one delicious dish. There must have been at least 6, 7, or 8 individual components to that dish. So for me, that is the star of the show. Okay, the meal is over. This meal was very good. I would say that this is like standard old school Cantonese food in Chinatown. We're located in the north side of Canal Street, where I would say there's equally the same amount of Chinese restaurants up here than there are down below Canal Street. And this is just another one of those places that have been around forever. I'm sure they've been around here for over 30 years. They're probably under a new name now, Hong Wong. I have to say that these are the kinds of places that are holding on and keeping that old Chinatown tradition going. I wouldn't say that it's the greatest food on earth, but at the same time, it's good. It's good. It's as good as I remember it from years back, and they're carrying on. And if you happen to be in the neighborhood on the Bowery, this is a good place to come by for a relatively inexpensive meal. If you're watching the Minute Review Show and you like what you see, please subscribe and also hit the thumbs up button so that you can know when my next video is coming up. I'm mainly a New York City YouTuber, so Hopefully you can enjoy all the restaurants that I go to. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. The final bill before tip was $72,